This is the HP Pavilion Gaming Laptop 15 and it's a beast of a machine. It's powered by an AMD Ryzen 7 5800H, which is an 8-core 16-thread CPU. And for graphics, it's got an RTX 3050. And yes, how can I forget that gorgeous, full high definition 144Hz 100% sRGB IPS panel. That is a gorgeous display. Hi, I'm Tech Guy Charlie. Welcome to the in-depth review of the HP Pavilion Gaming Laptop 15. Now, the rest of the specifications includes 16 gigs of DDR4 3200MHz memory running in dual channel, 512GB M.2 SSD with 2.5-inch slot free for extra hard drive. And let me tell ya, playing games, editing and rendering 4K videos is like a walk in the park for this laptop. So, with this sort of a performance, this thing is a true desktop replacement machine. Alright, intro done, let's start the review. We will start by taking a look at what's inside the box and the accessories supplied. So first off, you get the laptop itself. Here is the power brick, 200 watts if you are wondering, and there's the power cord, and finally the setup instructions. There's also a bag that is included with the laptop, but unfortunately the store did not have the HP branded bag with them, so they gave me this Lenovo bag. I guess that's kinda okay, but I would have preferred the original HP bag. Now let's talk about the design and the build quality. So first off, let me tell you that the design was one of the reasons why I bought this laptop. It looks good and certainly lets you know that it's a gaming laptop. But it does not scream, "Look at me, I'm a gaming laptop," at you. Even though it's a gaming laptop, the design is quite sober. I'm personally not a huge fan of overdoing the gamery aesthetics on a notebook. It attracts a lot of attention, especially at work. But don't get me wrong, this thing still looks like a gaming laptop. Also, to give you this sort of a configuration at this asking price point, some corners have been cut. For example, it's got a matte finish plastic body. And that matte finish attracts a lot of fingerprints, especially if you have oily hands like mine. This is how the laptop looks like after a gaming session. It's got quite a few fingerprints on it, but that's alright. And yes, at this price point, you can get ultrabooks that look super premium. But then with an ultrabook, you have to sacrifice a lot of performance. Trust me, I've done my research. And this is fine because even though the body is plastic, there is very little flex. The laptop is built like a tank and it feels very solid to hold. You can also open up the laptop with one hand. The hinges are good, but the screen does wobble a little. But it won't wobble on its own, especially if you keep the laptop under a ceiling fan. I have the fan turned to 80% and it is rock solid. So all said and done, I love the build quality of this thing, but only time will tell how well it holds up. And finally, on the bottom we can see large intake for the fans. It's got dual fans if you are wondering. Now let's quickly take a look at the ports, keyboard and the trackpad. On to the right side, we've got the SD card reader, very useful if you are a content creator, combo headphone jack, hard drive activity indicator, thumbs up for that, a USB Type-C port, gigabit LAN port, there's also a USB 3 super speed port and a full-size HDMI 2 out. So yes, you can get 4K at 60Hz out from the HDMI port. On the left side of the laptop, we've got a USB 2.0 port with HP's sleep and charge technology. So this lets you charge your phone even when the laptop is switched off. Seems like the maximum output is limited to 1 amp. So right now it's charging the phone at about 900 milliamps. And then there's the AC adapter port. Now if your outlet is on the right side of your desk, then you will have to run the power cord like this. So do keep that in mind. And there's also a little LED that lights up amber when the laptop is charging and turns white when it's fully charged. Now this being a 15-inch laptop has a full-size black color keyboard with numeric pad on the right side. The backlight is ultraviolet deep purple, kinda hard to capture the exact color on the camera. I would have preferred RGB at this price point, but purple also looks good. And it's a 3-step backlight. Right now it's set to the brightest level. This is medium and finally off. And it is fairly bright considering it's a laptop. Now obviously you don't get a mechanical keyboard level backlighting here, but still, coming from a MacBook Air, I am very happy with the backlight. The keyboard also feels pretty good to type on. Here's a quick demo of the typing sound. The touchpad is also very nice. It's got matte finish and it feels premium. Check out the clicky sound. It does feel very nice. So the touchpad does not make much noise, but you still have a very solid tactile feedback. Having a good quality display is super important on a notebook. I mean, if the display is bad, you're not gonna enjoy your laptop no matter how good the configuration is. Fortunately, HP is not cheaping out when it comes to the display. So this particular model has a 15.6-inch full high definition, 144Hz, 7 millisecond response time IPS display. And full high definition on a 15.6-inch display is sharp. You will not be able to see any pixels from a normal viewing distance. And let me tell you, this is a really nice panel. The color reproduction is excellent, contrast also seems good. So black looks like black and not gray, which makes watching videos with dark scenes a treat. And because the contrast is good, you will love playing video games that have a lot of dark scenes, like Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I mean, good contrast really brings out the details in a video game. And this being an IPS panel does have good viewing angles. You will be able to view the screen no matter where you are sitting. But do keep in mind, the screen does lose a bit of brightness when you are viewing it from the sides. This is completely normal. Another thing which is common to IPS displays is light bleed. My particular unit has some light bleed issues at the corners. This isn't exactly noticeable unless you put a black image on the screen and turn the brightness up to max. Once again, this is normal and common to IPS panels. Even this monitor has light bleed issues on the top left hand side corner. Now, HP claims 72% NTSC, which is roughly equivalent to 100% sRGB, so the color reproduction is good. So I would say that this display is perfect for content creation. And because it's a 144Hz display, everything you do is butter smooth. From simple things like moving the windows around to browsing the web to playing games, 144Hz is a whole different experience. You will feel the difference if you are coming from a 60Hz panel, and you will absolutely love it. The screen also gets plenty bright to the point where it hurts my eyes at maximum brightness in a dark room. HP claims 300 nits of brightness, and in my opinion 300 nits is more than enough for indoor use. I rarely go beyond 60% brightness indoors. The screen is visible in direct sunlight, which is surprising because it's only 300 nits. I am able to see all the text clearly on the screen. And this is the absolute worst case scenario when you have bright sunlight reflecting off the screen. And also because this is a matte finish display, the reflections are very minimal. So when it comes to upgradability, well, this is one of the best laptops that you can get in the market. There are 7 screws holding the back panel. Thankfully, none of them are covered by the warranty void stickers. So open them up and pry the rear cover off. And that gives you full access to the hardware. I love the dual fan cooling solution on this thing. And it seems like the fans are also fairly easy to clean. You can take them off and clear out all the dust. Anywho, the RAM and the M.2 drive are located underneath this black tape thingy. There are 2 RAM slots. It comes with 2 8GB 3200 MHz DDR4 sticks, so it is running in dual channel. And the laptop supports up to 32 gigs, so you can pop in 2 16 gigs sticks if you want. Here's the M.2 drive. HP is using Micron Pyrite NVMe, so that's a decent quality drive. There is also an empty slot for a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive, so you can pop in a 2TB mechanical hard drive for your games and you are good to go. Again, very easy to open and upgrade. This is how laptops should be built like. And finally, the stereo speakers are at the top of the keyboard. I think this is the perfect placement for stereo speakers because if they are at the bottom of the laptop, you kind of end up blocking them if you are using the laptop on a bed. And yeah, they do sound pretty good. Let me play an audio track for you guys. How's it going? Tech Guy Charlie here and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to show you a very interesting advanced hidden feature that was recently added to Samsung Galaxy smartphones. And because the audio is from B&O, you get the B&O experience. plenty of sound enhancement options over here. Tutorials on Samsung Galaxy smartphones. Oh, and by the way guys, the wallpaper links are in the video description. You can download them from my Flickr account. Anyways, the hidden feature that I'm going to show you is called Continue Apps on Other Devices. This particular feature was added to Samsung. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the sound quality. You can hear each and every dialogue clearly while playing games or watching a movie. Okay, so this is the web camera test. This laptop has a 720p web camera. We do have stereo microphones though. One is over here and one is over here. The video quality is okay, it's not the best. I would have preferred at least a 2 megapixel camera on this thing, but yeah, they have given us a 720p web camera. By the way, this is how the video quality is like when the lighting is dim, and this is how the video is like when the lighting is good. So I don't really see that much improvement. So yes, I would say it's not the best. I've seen better web cameras, but yeah, it will get the job done. From the moment you hit the power button, it takes about 8 seconds to boot into Windows, and the computer is super responsive. You can start launching apps right away and there will be no lags or any hiccups. This is thanks to the fast M.2 SSD. Very impressive. And speaking of the M.2 SSD, here are the Crystal Disk Mark results. Now this laptop comes with Windows 10 Home 64-bit pre-installed, which is upgradable to Windows 11, and Secure Boot is enabled by default. Plus Microsoft Office Home and Student is included with lifetime validity. Awesome, right? Now just like every other OEM, HP has included a lot of bloatware. There is Booking.com app, ExpressVPN, some pre-installed games, LastPass, and a whole bunch of HP stuff. Then there is McAfee 30-day trial, which is unnecessary and should be removed. And then there is the Omen Gaming Hub. There's also AMD's very own gaming software, so you have 2 gaming hubs installed on this laptop. Fortunately, all of this bloatware can be easily uninstalled from the laptop, so that's great. And you should do this because if you want better performance and battery life out of your laptop, uninstall all the bloatware and the software that you're not gonna use. And out of the box, about 61 gigs is taken up by Windows, Office, and whatever HP has installed on this machine. We're only left with about 415 gigs. That's not a whole lot considering games like Call of Duty are well above 200 gigs. Performance is where this laptop really shines. 8-core, 16-thread Ryzen 7 5800H with an RTX 3050 and a 100% sRGB screen. This is a content creator's laptop and a true desktop replacement. Now, one thing I have noticed is 16GB of RAM isn't enough for editing 4K videos. Initially, everything seems to work fine, but as you build up the project and the timeline gets bigger, the RAM usage kinda gets maxed out. What makes it worse is that you don't really get full 16 gigs of RAM because 1GB is reserved for the internal Radeon GPU. You only get about 15GB of usable memory and that is not enough. So it is best to upgrade the RAM to 32 gigs if you want to work on large 4K projects. But for gaming, 16GB is perfect. Rendering a 4K video puts maximum stress on the CPU. You'll see as soon as we hit the render button, the CPU gets pinned to 100% and the temperatures also instantly shoot to 90 degrees. And you can also see the room temperature on the clock. It's about 29 degrees Celsius inside the room. Now the highest temperature recorded was 101 degrees Celsius, and that is very close to the point where the CPU would start to thermal throttle. I think 104 is the limit. But thankfully the CPU did not thermal throttle and eventually the temperatures stabilized to around 90 to 91 degrees Celsius. And all of the CPU cores were boosting at about 3.4 GHz. Now the fact that we did not see any thermal throttling while rendering a video might be due to the fact that I'm using a laptop cooling pad. And it took about 26 minutes to render a 22-minute 4K video in DaVinci Resolve using the 4K YouTube preset. You know what? That is desktop-like performance on a laptop. Very respectable. And Cinebench R23 gives us a multi-core score of almost 12,000, 11,891 to be exact, and that is even higher than the Core i9 9880H. That is crazy. And for single core, we get around 1,378. So this is a powerful CPU. For graphics, this laptop comes with an RTX 3050, 60 watts TGP if you are wondering. It's got 4GB of GDDR6 dedicated video memory, which I would say is a bit low by 2021 standards. 6 would have been perfect, but you also gotta keep in mind this laptop has a 1080p display, so that kinda cuts down on the VRAM usage compared to say if you were to game on a 2K display. But from a future proofing standpoint, 4GB is a bad idea. I mean, if you are buying a laptop that is this expensive, you're gonna keep it for the next 5 to 6 years. But I really shouldn't be complaining, because if you consider the current state of the market and how expensive new graphics cards are, getting yourself a gaming laptop or a pre-built PC is the only way to game right now. And the 3050 handles modern games quite nicely, like Shadow of the Tomb Raider gives us about 60 to 80 FPS with medium to high settings. And this is with RTX turned on. Yes, with ray tracing. But if you want to enjoy high FPS gaming, which you might want to do since this laptop has a 144Hz display, then you might want to drop some settings. But I feel this is a good balance between performance and the visuals. And this isn't exactly a gaming review because there are plenty of videos that show how the 3050 performs, but as you can see, it does pretty good in modern titles. Even in games like Metro Exodus, we're getting well above 60 FPS even though all of the settings are maxed out. Obviously it's running without ray tracing, but yeah. So that just shows you the 3050 is quite a capable card. To test the temperatures and to see if the laptop thermal throttles while gaming, I fired up Need for Speed Heat, and we will be running this game at 1080p medium settings. And one of the reasons why I picked Need for Speed Heat is because this game is quite CPU intensive. So right after the game starts up, it kinda continues to load stuff in the background. So it's really not uncommon to see high CPU temperatures. As you can see, they are hovering around 90 to 91 degrees Celsius. But our boost clock is still around 3.9 GHz. So the CPU is definitely not thermal throttling. The temperatures should drop in about a minute or two after the game finishes doing whatever it's doing in the background. So I will continue to play for about 10 minutes and see where the temperatures stabilize at. Okay, so I've been playing the game for about 10 minutes and the CPU temperatures have stabilized around 85 to 86 degrees. And we're getting a pretty consistent 3.9 to 4 GHz boost all throughout the game. And our 3050 is running happily at 67 degrees Celsius with a very healthy 1.73 GHz boost, and we are averaging around 72 FPS. That is quite amazing. The fans do get pretty loud though, about 48 decibels on average, and what you are hearing is the actual fan noise. So this much fan noise is actually quite common while gaming on almost every gaming notebook. So I would recommend a good pair of earphones while playing games. Overall, I'm very happy with the thermals. The dual heat pipe seems to be more than enough to keep the 8-core Ryzen and the 3050 running happily in games. One strange thing I've noticed is that this game gives us better frame rate during the daytime, somewhere in the range of mid to high 80s, but during the nighttime the frame rate is around low 70s. Strange, huh? Now, while gaming, the surface does get quite warm. On the bottom right side, the surface temps are about 48 degrees Celsius, and this is where the NVMe and the RAM is, so that is pretty normal. And near the enter key, the temperatures are about 52 degrees Celsius, and this is where the CPU and the GPU is at. So it is pretty normal for this area to get hot when gaming. Fortunately, the WASD keys remain cool to touch even while gaming. So they are about 31 degrees Celsius, and the part where your palm is gonna rest while gaming is even cooler at 29 degrees. So that is awesome. The touchpad also remains cool at 30 degrees, so you're not gonna burn your palm or your fingers while gaming. To check the battery backup, I used a stop clock, set the laptop to best battery life setting, and I've got the brightness set to 80%, which is about 60% of what you get without the power saving mode. Then I started watching some Netflix. After about 2 hours and 40 minutes of Netflix, streamed some music, replied to some comments on YouTube, and that brought us down to 44%. The battery gauge was still showing about 3 hours and 5 minutes. And at this point, I shut the laptop down to get some sleep and paused the stop clock. The next day, I resumed the stop clock and turned the laptop on. A quick glance at the battery level and you can see we are at about 40%. So we lost about 4% while starting up and opening up apps. And finally, at about the 4 hour and 50 minute mark, we got a low battery message. And our charge level was at about 12%. So just shy of 5 hours, which is pretty good for a gaming notebook. Now, even though the battery gauge shows us about 44 minutes remaining, I don't really recommend draining the battery beyond 15%. That will shorten the lifespan of your battery. And it takes about 1 hour and 40 minutes to recharge the battery from 11% all the way to 99%. Alright, concluding thoughts. Who should buy this laptop? Well, if you are someone who wants to play modern games at a decent frame rate, edit 4K videos, have a really good quality screen, and most importantly, wants a powerful CPU with keeping upgradability in mind. Well, if you are looking for all this, then this laptop is perfect for you. It will also keep the budget gamers happy because the 3050 handles modern games quite nicely. Now, if you are looking for a laptop that you are only going to use to play games, then try finding one that at least comes with an RTX 3060. But good luck finding one at a reasonable price because notebooks that have anything higher than a 3050 Ti are quite expensive. Alright guys, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more videos on this laptop. And let me know in the comment section what do you think about this notebook. Alrighty, so I will see you guys in the next video.